People's Platform.
Good evening and welcome to the People's Platform. Let's begin tonight's conversation with Taylor Swift, singer, songwriter, global superstar who has captivated audiences across the world with her melodies and has solidified herself as one of the most influential artists in contemporary music. Now, the pop star's impact has extended far beyond her award-winning songs and record-breaking Grammys into the international business stage, with what's been referred to as Swiftonomics, or the phenomenon where Swift is able to create ripple effects in both local and large-scale economies around her through specific actions. Now, Singapore was the only stop in Southeast Asia for Swift's Eras tour after government agencies secured an exclusive deal with her. I want to show you a clip from the Singaporean Prime Minister's speech.
Taylor Swift is performing in Singapore. We negotiated, our agencies negotiated an arrangement with her to come to Singapore and perform and to make Singapore her only stop in Southeast Asia. And there was a certain incentives provided to her from our Tourism Development Fund. It really is a post-COVID fund to revive tourism after COVID. And a deal was reached. And so it has turned out to be a very successful arrangement. I don't see that as being unfriendly. Sometimes one country makes a deal, sometimes another country does. And if that's what's needed to be done to get an outcome which is mutually beneficial and which from Singapore's point of view serves not just to grow the economy but also to bring in visitors and goodwill from all over the region, I don't see why not.
Now I'm reading from an article from Fancy Wong, who says Taylor Swift's 6 concerts held at the Singapore National Stadium from March 2nd to March 9th not only captivated over 300,000 audiences but also left a significant economic impact on Singapore. This event serves as a case study for analysing the economic implications, business models, supply chain dynamics and industry insights associated with mega concerts in the region. Economic impact of the Singapore concert. Direct economic benefits. Ticket sales amounting to approximately 180 million Singapore dollars, with additional revenue from hospitality, transportation and retail sectors totaling around 450 million Singapore dollars. Indirect economic benefits. The concert enhanced Singapore's international visibility, attracting more tourists and fostering growth in the tourism sector, estimated to generate about 100 million Singapore dollars in indirect economic benefits. Employment opportunities. The event created approximately 3,000 temporary job opportunities and contributed to talent development in Singapore's events industry. Now, this intro was necessary for tonight's topic of discussion, propelling economic recovery through greater participation in Sri Lanka. I'm so pleased to welcome to the show my guest tonight, Mr. Duminda Hulangamuwa, Chairman, Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Hulangamuwa, welcome back to the show.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely. What do you think about this phenomenon of Swiftonomics?
That's really great. If I tell you, I had a visitor from Singapore last week who told me about how they managed to secure this deal.
Right.
And I was told that the Singapore government has visited Taylor Swift. And the strategy was apparently, I don't know if apparently, it is a mother who runs as her manager,
right,
who runs the program, everything. And they first spoke to her when they met her. Not Taylor Swift, first with the mother. And they convinced the mother to come to Singapore and perform, and that's how they struck the deal. So how that goes to show how strategic they are in their thinking and how focused they are in their thinking. Of course, Singapore, as all of us know, is operated at a different level, which they have achieved over a few decades. So they're very focused as a country as to what they want when it comes to the economy or their foreign policy. They're very focused as to what they want and what they want to get, and they're a very business-minded state. And I think that is how countries should prepare their agendas. Politically very stable country, one of the best passports to have in the world. So, and that is how I think your story of Taylor Swift is a good example of how I think countries should work on a common agenda of developing the country. So, if I may contribute, I mean, in the sense if you compare that against other countries, I mean, not only Sri Lanka, in the South Asian countries, it's very difficult to reach consensus or anything. I mean, if you are to bring a superstar of that nature, you can imagine the amount of debate that can surround it. People for and against. And the debate would have gone on until she went from this area. So that is why we feel, as a Ceylon Chamber, we have always promulgated, and we have the view that if Sri Lanka is to go anywhere close to the country like Singapore, I mean, I don't think we need to go there. I mean, when we come somewhere close is a great thing. Is that all people must work with one agenda. Do you want your country to be developed economically? Do you want the well-being and the social standards and the economic standards of your people uplifted? And then you should work in the direction. That is a way I think you can develop an economy. If it's a fragmented society based on political lines, based on religious lines, based on other social lines, then it's very difficult for any government to drive a common agenda. The only time I saw during my lifetime where a government very focused on what they want to achieve economically was in 1937 when President Jayawardena was appointed the leader of this country, and a very focused approach in terms of agriculture, irrigation, exports, port and shipping, and that is the time that we really lay the foundation for development. So, of course, you need a strong government for that. I don't mean by that saying you suppress opposition, but you need a strong government, and to have a very good mandate to implement those economic policies that will bring prosperity to all the people of the country by creating equal opportunity. So, in my view, not only the government, the opposition, the civil society of this country, everyone must have an understanding, a recognition of their effort, of what needs to be done, what our priorities are. So we should not mix up what our priorities are. So we must have one focus line. Now, if I look at some of the debates that are in Parliament, I'm quite open about it, that go on for 3 days, 4 days. In my view, it is of no consequence to the people most of the time. What comes out of it has to have some benefit to the people in terms of economic development. I'm yet to come across both government and opposition proposing an economic agenda where debate and you agree, okay, this is what way forward that we go through. That is very important. We are very fragmented in terms of society, politically. There's so many lines. But whereas Singapore, if you look at, it's not fragmented society. It's one goal they have, and that is what they strive to achieve. That's why they can do deals of this nature. And the people also accept. In my view, Sri Lanka has got used to a situation where we always blame someone else for our problems. We always say what others can do for us. It's not only the political parties and governments that are entrusted with these tasks. The people of the country also must understand that they have a role to play in this development effort. If they don't have the drive, then the country doesn't progress. I mean, Singapore is an extreme case, but if you take contact in Vietnam, which is far below Singapore, but where they were and where we are, I mean, how they have changed and transformed their economy into a very powerful economic powerhouse in the ASEAN region. I think they are the biggest contributors, the people. The people are willing to work hard, honest in what they do. They don't waste time in discussing petty issues. It's very focused. When the Vietnam opened up the economy and going on economic drive, they want to get Samsung to Vietnam, and that was their first major foreign investor. And they knew that getting Samsung will have a knock-on effect, others will come. And we have studied that case, that the president of Vietnam was personally engaged with Samsung and its board of directors over a long period of time in trying to convince them to come and set up in Vietnam. And they brought the first $5 billion investment to Vietnam. And now today, Samsung's biggest manufacturing base is in Vietnam. And others came thereafter. So I think that is what we need to do. So they don't get involved in petty politics. They're involved debating bills that are not relevant to people, in my view. If you want to deal with this country economically, then I think you need to have a very strong agenda, common agenda, and people also must participate in that.
Sure.
Without the people's support, politicians will put it in different directions. So people have to be strong in deciding what they want. You can't be the politicians, because if they come and sell things and you buy, it's up to you. So people also must understand right and wrong for them.
Right. Mr. Hulangamuwa, you're heading the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. It is also a key stakeholder in driving the economy forward. Speak to us about some of the key initiatives that you have been engaged in over the recent past.
So Ceylon Chamber, of course, had a very active role to play the last 2 years. For the beginning of the economic crisis to today, we felt that we must come out openly and get involved. Because if businesses get affected, then the employees will get affected, trade will get affected, everyone connected to business will get affected. So that is why we took a very strong engagement with the then president of the government. And we tried to convince them to go on different lines and directions in order to salvage the situation before it falls. After the economic crisis, after the default, I mean, when I say economic crisis, the real when debt default took place, and Sri Lanka became a debt default country, and when we had queues for fuel and long harbour cuts, we worked a lot with the government to, at that time, to get the IMF support to resurrect, because once you're a debt default country, you gotta negotiate with creditors without a guarantor behind you. And the subsequent economic reforms that took place, we played a significant role in policy direction.
Right.
And policy contribution. We engage a lot with the IMF, with the World Bank, with the ADB, with the Indian government of India. I mean, we spend days in High Commission and residents talking to them to see how we can salvage the situation. We spoke to all the political parties. We engaged, I must say, all the political parties. And I must say they behaved responsibly during the time of post-Aragale in trying to not disrupt the system and to make sure there's stability so the economy can recover. And that is a significant role we played. But apart from that, we did play a crucial role the last 1 year or so, I would say, in trying to see, even in this depressed situation and climate, and we are in the default situation, how we can increase our exports, how we can increase bilateral trade. So we have been actively involved with the Thai FTA that came out. We brought 2 delegations from India, which include also the Honorable Minister of Finance of India. When she came with delegation, which Chamber sponsored it with the Indian High Commission. We worked very closely with the business councils of Indonesia, Vietnam, to see how we can increase exports even in this climate. Attracting investments is difficult because of the fact that we are in default. So it's difficult to attract investment, but at least we can improve the bilateral trade. So we played a fairly significant role even now. For example, if outside of all this economic crisis and issues, we play a crucial role in trying to see how we can modernize agriculture and to make it what is called commercializing. I think the President started this project, and we are working very much with the program that is to commercialize existing agriculture, because Sri Lankan agriculture is all fragmented small parcels of land you get. So to make it, to achieve economies of scale and manufacture at low cost of production, we need to have large extents of land. So on the commercialization side, we are working. Of course, as you know, government red tape and the laws that we have is not easy to deal with. It takes a long time. On the agriculture side, we are working. On the power sector, we are working very closely with the Ministry of Power in the liberalization program, and also members of our chamber helped the introduction of the QR code. And then we work with the Tariff Commission or with the PCSL and the CB tariff structure. We made a lot of contributions to that. So outside of issues related to economic crisis, we work on a day-to-day basis with a multitude of organizations, industries, government, etc., to see how we can facilitate trade and commerce.
Are the results forthcoming? Or?
Some do, some are not, some are slow. That is the inherent feature, because to move policy in Sri Lanka is not easy. It takes time.
What are some of the loopholes and gaps you see in your engagements with policymakers?
No, I would call it loopholes and gaps. I would say the bureaucracy is very high in Sri Lanka because of the extreme licensing regimes we have, the laws that are there, and heavy public service. So it's very difficult to implement reform when you have heavy public service because everyone has to say in everything.
Why can't we advocate for simpler procedures?
Yeah, so it will take time. It won't happen overnight. For example, these are practices, these are policies that have got embedded over a long period of time. So you need, I'm sure, Sonal, you can do that. But for that, you need a strong mandate and government also to do that. Now, if you look at India, from where they were in the 1980s and 90s, 80s and 90s rather, they have a highly licensed bureaucratic regime. But Prime Minister Modi has been able to change most of it because he has a very strong mandate and a lot of ground support he has. So he's, without any fear, he can make those changes.
Right.
And the results have been forthcoming. You can see how much India has progressed from the last 7-8 years. Of course, because the foundation they laid earlier. So you need to change. And for that, the people also must support. If you find people demonstrating, people going on strike, of course now that is less in Sri Lanka, I must say, thankfully, opposing everything for sake of opposing, without having a constructive dialogue to see how you can do things better, then this would, for example, if I tell you this morning I listened to this launch committee meeting, we bring a speaker, and there's a speaker who came from the private education sector, and he was telling us that in 1977 when he joined the private medical college, or what we call the North Carolina Medical College. It was a private, it was a government-run medical college in Ragama in 1978 to produce medical graduates. Of the 100 batch, 25 were foreign students. But people opposed it, political parties opposed it, and that was stopped under tremendous pressure. Now, if we had continued that program where we had a medical college for people who can't qualify to the medical college in Sri Lanka, that would have been one of the world-class medical colleges in Sri Lanka today, after 40 years. Now our students go to countries like Nepal, Bangladesh to study medicine, when those people didn't even have medical college at that time. So those are the mistakes we have made. So my fervent request to Sri Lankan society is that you don't make mistakes that again. Because we would have said all the foreign currency that we are losing by people going overseas, we would have had universities, we would have had knock-on effect of that very much, we would have had nursing schools, we have a top-class education. Monash want to come to Sri Lanka first before going to Malaysia, but because of the conditions they went back to Malaysia. So those are the mistakes. So I'm saying for all political parties, people of this country must realize what is best for them and they must select, because we are the judges of what we have to get. So we reap what we sow. So we have to make sure that we as people do the correct thing.
Let's continue the conversation after this short commercial break. We'll be right back.
The People's Platform. Get ready for the ultimate adrenaline rush. Vijayabahu Motocross Racing Game is back. Join us on March 31st at the Vijayabahu Motocross Circuit for an electrifying experience like no other. Witness top local and international racers battle it out on the tracks, showcasing their skills and pushing the limits of speed and precision. Don't miss out on the action-packed spectacle of Vijayabahu Motocross Racing. Mark your calendars and be there on March 31st. See you at the circuit.
The most awaited Alut Arthur celebrations. Wellawaya, be ready.
Get ready for the ultimate adrenaline rush. Vijayabahu Motocross Racing Game is back. Join us on March 31st at the Vijayabahu Motocross Circuit for an electrifying experience like no other. Witness top local and international racers battle it out on the tracks, showcasing their skills and pushing the limits of speed and precision. Don't miss out on the action-packed spectacle of Vijayabahu motocross racing. Mark your calendars and be there on March 31st. See you at the circuit.
TV1. TV for life.
Will Namal run for president as the SLPP candidate? Prasanna says SLPP lacks a presidential candidate and Basil is a better national organizer than Namal. 4 Chinese research ships in Indian Ocean. India responds with 1 ship, 11 subs. Yana Sarathero sentenced to 4 years hard labour. Ex-Health Minister Kehelia returned to remand custody.
TV1. TV for life. The People's Platform.
Welcome back. My guest tonight is Chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Duminda Hulangamuwa. Mr. Hulangamuwa, if we take the importance of the role of the legislative arm of government, our elected representatives, speak to us about the sacred role of the opposition over and above mindlessly criticizing everything that comes their way. What more can they do? What should they be doing?
Yes, so it's a very sensitive question. I hope no one takes offense at what I'm saying. All people have been in opposition, I'm saying, not only the current opposition, but those in government now also when they're in opposition. The story is the same. See, I mean, we as a Ceylon Chamber, the private sector, appreciate the role played by the opposition in demanding democracy, safeguarding democracy, the position they take on corruption. That has to be done. Opposition's role is to highlight the weakness of a government and put them on the correct track. And on matters of democracy, they have raised. On matters of corruption, we stand by what they are saying, that is right. But I think whilst they do that role, they have to also play a role to see how they can uplift the standard of living of the Sri Lankan people. And in my view, that has to be, as it is, a collective effort. If every developer initiative taken by government is going to be objected without looking at it constructively, then the country will progress, as I told you. For example, a classic one, what we feel, I mean, this view of Ceylon Chamber and ourselves, is that there has to be substantial reform in the public sector. The Ceylon Electricity Board, the Petroleum Corporation has gone through, I think, in our view, substantial reform, which are necessary. And we're very thankful to the Minister for doing that. Now, in such reform, I think they should support, because what they're trying to do is how you can make these entities sustainable and viable ventures. I mean, no one likes to pay a higher price for electricity and higher price for fuel. But if we go on a mode of subsidizing, if we don't improve our efficiencies, if we don't see why there's inefficiency and waste, how it takes place and address that, as a collective body, then the situation will continue forever. So, in such moves, I think there has to be support given if the cause is good, irrespective of your political views and angles. If you think of election, without thinking of elections, without thinking of votes, if something is good happening in the country, you must support it. If there is currently, if you look at the IMF reform program, I mean, no one wants to pay high income taxes. No one wants to pay higher VATs. You and I both are paying a lot. And I must say, IMF didn't come voluntarily. They didn't volunteer to come. We asked them to come. And beyond the reform program, they suggested for us to increase our revenues, because revenues are down compared to what we spend. What is the choice we have? Should we print money or should we borrow money the way we did, drive inflation up, drive interest rates up, or should stabilize the macroeconomic fundamentals? So those are, on those matters, I think there has to be common agenda. On large national issues, there has to be common agenda. And also, I think they must contribute in policy formulation. If they are criticizing this, then they must say what is better. They must give the alternatives and contribute towards policy formulation, because once the people see, in my view, once the people see that there is a commonality in the agenda, there is unification in the agenda, the consistency of what they want to do, then the people will also support it.
Right.
But once the political parties, opposition, takes a different line for the sake of opposing, as you said, then those, their followers will follow what the leaders say. So, whilst appreciating the role they play as opposition in areas I told you, in safeguarding democracy, in making sure there is no corruption, protesting against corruption, all that is good. But wherever is required, they must support a good initiative for the sake of the country. I think what they fail to see is they must be able to see beyond their political parties and see what is best for the country. That is what we advocate from the Ceylon Chamber. And this goes to all political parties.
My final question to you is, how do we go about propelling economic recovery through greater participation? Because sometimes what we see in Sri Lanka is different stakeholders acting in silos, massive egos, inability to work together.
Yeah, so Sonali, also I think a democracy like Sri Lanka has a cost to pay as well. I mean, whilst we all like our ability to freely express our views, whilst you as news channels also want to express your views, the people's views, it has a cost to pay as well. Because sometimes certain policies will have to be implemented for the greater good of the country as a whole, looking at the future. Do you want to liberalize the power sector and protect employment of a few? Or you want to look at the greater good of the country as a whole, where Sri Lankans can get power and energy at reasonable prices on a continuous basis. So that is the message that we want to send. Do you want to deprive foreign investment into areas that we can't spend, we can't put money in? Because if you take, Sonali, if you take any significant infrastructure for this country, there is no private sector company who can put $100 million or more. I mean, I can count my fingers as to who can put over $100 million, $200 million for a big project. So we don't have foreign capital that requires significant, propel the economy from 4% to 8%.
Right.
So for that, we invite foreign investment. So you must have policies that are more friendly towards foreign investment, accommodating. And that's what Singapore is doing, right? Singapore is always forward-looking. The Taylor Swift is a good example. Now just imagine having a concert here by bringing a foreigner. How many people protest and give their views and opinions on social media to news channels? So you destroy the atmosphere, you destroy the ambience, you destroy the initiative. But Singapore has accepted it, and they have seen the progress of such policies. So that's a cost to pay for democracy. So you might not have the same amount of expression, the freedom of expression in the country like Singapore. I don't know, I'm assuming. But there's a good side to it also. So that's the compromise. The Sri Lankan people must select what they want, what is best for them.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and perspectives, Mr. Duminda Hulangamuwa, Chairman, Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for watching us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.